morning and welcome back to the farm. I had hoped that today I'd be working on a new project, but because these girls are so stubborn, it seems it's another round of messing with the chicken run. So what I need to do, what I need to do is fence in the underside of the coop so that they can't get under there at night. And I've got the Energizer, so I need to figure out how to attach that. I'm also going to go around the edges. There's a couple of places where there's weeds encroaching on the fence, so I'm just going to cut those back as well. But we're going to start with the underside of the coop. Electricity. I wish people who made electrical devices like this understood that there are people who are using them who have never done anything with electricity before in their lives, because they're talking about grounds and earths and all, and I've got no idea. They didn't even say where to attach the power clip, the red clip that comes out of the battery pack. I'm assuming it goes to the metal clip that you use to join separate lengths of fencing together to make the circuit. And it came with, excuse me, a battery tester, or a power tester, and I tested all the lines, and they're all hot, about at least 6.5 whatever volts. So I'm assuming that's going to be enough to at least startle the girls if they decide to try and get out, and possibly startle the cat because he's sniffing around the edge of the fence right now. But that's in place. The fence on the base of the coop is in place. So I think that's taken care of until tonight. I got a couple of tips online for ways to try and get the girls to go into the coop tonight. Go in with treats and call them into the coop and see if they come. Since I know that they come when I call in the yard, hopefully I can get them to come to the coop. And if that doesn't work after a couple of nights, they suggested putting a light in the coop. Just a dim one, but enough that it's brighter than the outside. That apparently chickens like to go to the brightest space, so the light in the coop will attract them in, and then the door will shut on its own. But we're gonna do one step at a time, so I'll come out about 7:30 tonight and try and tempt them in, and we'll see what happens. I'm gonna get on with my day. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do. I want to go. There's an estate sale guy up the road who has garage sales periodically, and I think he's having one this week. That's where I got the ladder for their roost, and I think I might need a second one. So I'm going to buzz by there and see if they have any. And I might go pick some more blueberries just for freezing, but we'll see how the day goes. Just a quick update. I think the cats can either hear or feel the electricity, because Gimli was sniffing around at it curiously, and Molly just came over and was sniffing, touched her nose to it, and off like a shot. So it's enough to startle them, not enough to hurt them. So as long as none of the girls get caught in the netting, I think this is going to work out great. This spring, I got a deal on a bunch of T-posts. I got 2 dozen 8-foot T-posts for, I think it was $8 each, which, considering that these are going for $13 brand new, I was very pleased with that deal. And as you know, the plan has been, I was going to use those to put the fence around the perimeter of the garden to keep the critters out. Well, setting up the chicken run over the last few days, I got realizing that that was a lot easier than I had thought it was going to be, and I think it would be very effective protecting the garden. So I went online and I did some price comparison, and it's really only maybe $100 more to get the electric setup. So that's 200-foot nets, a 7.5-foot gate, and an energizer. Then it would be to get 200 feet of welded wire, 200 feet of hardware cloth to put around the bottom of that fence, and 200 feet of chicken wire to put parallel to the ground so nothing can dig under it. Plus, I can set up, I'm pointing at the chicken run, I can set up the electric system in maybe an hour, hour and a half. Whereas the fence, the welded wire fence system was going to take me days, if not weeks. So between the cost comparison and the time commitment, I ordered the electric system today, and it should get here by the end of next week. I probably should have thought of this much sooner, but I was so narrow focused on the chicken coop and just having to get through that process and getting the paths done that I couldn't see beyond those tasks to be able to think strategically about some other things. And that is going to happen. That's part of the process. Of course, I'm coming to it too late to save my tomatoes. But I'm about to start fall cabbages. I want to put fall beets in. I may try and do a fall batch of peas, since I got almost nothing out of either of these pea beds because of the critters. So at least it will protect those. I can do fall spinach. I can do fall lettuce. All of those things I will still have time to do. So the T-posts have been laying over next to the house since I got them in May, to a point where I can't mow in that area, and it's very overgrown, and the goutweed is taking over more and more. So I just wanted to get that area cleaned up so I can mow it down good and start making that be part of my regular routine. So that's what I did. It's a small job, but it was actually really heavy. Those things weigh a ton. But at least it's done, and I don't have to think about it anymore. They're put away, they're neat. If I decide I want, what I'll probably end up using them for next year is staking tomatoes. I may, if I decide to make the chicken run permanent rather than using the electric fencing, I can use those for that. I don't think I'm going to, but what I may use them for is for the orchard fence. Because eventually, right now I just need to fence each individual tree, but eventually once I get everything in, I want to do a full fence around the whole thing. But that's 5 years down the road, and I don't have to think about that right now. I was going to say something else. Oh, the other posts I have here, You can see I've got some 7-foot posts, I've got a couple of 4-foot posts, and I've got a couple of 3-foot posts. And those are for the fencing for the grapevines. Door coming in. So those I will use. Not this year, probably next spring I'll put those in. None of the grapevines are tall enough to need trellising yet. So hopefully next year they'll get to that point. And then I'll just drive the T-posts on either end of the section. And for the one section that's got 3 grapevines, I'll put one in between each, and then run wire, and then they'll run vines for 3 feet in either direction from the point where they're growing up out of the ground. But again, I don't have to worry about that this year because they're all too puny, so I'm just going to leave those in here. I'm trying to narrow the focus of my work to stuff that has to get done right now. Again, because it's been so hot, because I am so far behind because of other projects, it just feels more reasonable to manage my expectations and narrow my focus down. So now I'm going to mow, and I am going to spare you mowing, except maybe a little bit, because I know I've been showing you a lot. My mother loves watching me mow. I don't understand it, but I won't bore you with it. I'll give a little for Mom, but and otherwise, I think that's probably going to be it for today. So come back tomorrow and see what we get up to tomorrow. Afternoon. It's a very late start to this, but I got up this morning with every intention I was going to finish getting all the garden paths done today and have one more project marked off. And then I remembered all the appointments I have after work. So it's not going to happen today, but I've got cardboard to put down, so I'm at least going to get the cardboard laid down and see how much time I have left to move maybe a couple of loads of compost. The other extra thing I've got to do is, when the guys delivered the new shed, they also leveled out the garden, the greenhouse for me, which is great, except now there's like a 6 to 8 inch step from the top of the ramp into the shed. So I also need to put that up on bricks to lift it up a bit. So I'm gonna take this cardboard that I've got in the wagon over and start laying that out. I'll run over to, I don't think you can see it from here. No, you can't see it from here. Kind of behind where the two sheds come together, in the back there, there's a wild blackberry patch. There's also a pile of bricks, and I'm gonna grab half a dozen of those and use those to prop that ramp up and give it that extra lift. And then I can even the slope out in front of it with wood chips. So let's get moving some stuff around. too bad. I got it about half done. I'm going to need at least 2 more rows for the path. I think I'm going to need 1 more load for the back near the shed, and I need half a load to finish 1 or 2 of the side paths. But depending on how long my dental appointment takes, I might still get that done this afternoon, so cross your fingers. And that's it. It's finally finished. I've got 1 path here and probably this one here that I think needs a little more mulch. But otherwise, this project is done. All I need now is the fencing, and the infrastructure on the garden is done. I mean, it only took till almost August, but it's finally done. I really want to get an overhead shot with my drone to do a comparison over from last winter before I started anything to the spring when I had it tarped and then had it tilled and then started putting the beds in, just to get that one last shot. But we're supposed to get more rain any minute, so I'm not going to risk putting it up. But I am going to go to bed and sleep the sleep of the just tonight. I can't believe it's finally done. I still have a huge pile of mulch down there and a decent sized pile of manure. But that's for other projects. I'm going to use that in my compost bins that I'm going to establish in the chicken run. Again, a project for another day. Well, not a lot, because there's not a lot, or there's a lot more left than what I need. but I've got more trees to plant, so I'll compost. I'll put the compost around them like you've seen me doing. And I'll probably put more compost on these beds as I'm turning them over. And wow, I've had this hanging over my head for so long that it's hard to know what to do now that it's done. And the chicken coop and run is done. And the fence shipped today. So, and once that gets here, it'll take me maybe 2 hours to get it all set up. And then I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to weed. I've got to get these beds cleaned up. Although I've stayed mostly on, not perfectly, but mostly on top of them. And I still need to get the asparagus and the strawberries composted and mulched, because that is a special project and needs special attention, especially before the end of this week, beginning of next week, because my youngest is coming up to visit this weekend, and they're going to stay for a week, which is wonderful. The county fair is next week. Yes, next week, because today's Monday, is next week. So we're going to be going to that, and I'll probably show you some of that. But we've got something that we need to do with the asparagus bed that weekend as well while they're here. And then it's thinking about fall crops, which will be a whole conversation in and of itself. So I'll save that for another day. And getting ready for fall, I guess. So thank you very much for persevering with me through this god-awful project. And I hope you learned something. I hope you feel enriched by it. I hope you at least laughed at me working harder, not smarter. And I hope you'll come back tomorrow and see what we get up to tomorrow. Good night, everybody.